All right, everybody. It's another Monday, and this is the Art with Errol podcast. Just checking in on you. Let's go, baby. We checking in, man. It's Monday podcast, and of course, this thing is acting crazy. Uh, welcome. Anybody that's new out there? I'm Errol. I'm your host. We've been doing this podcast for a little while now. Um, so you should know that I'm an artist, a graphics designer, a gamer, Navy veteran, you know. Um, and that's our little intro. That's all I really got on the intro. But today I wanted to kind of talk about overcoming yourself, man. You know, I think about this a lot, because I hear a lot of people that inspire me, I guess, talk about the same concept. And I think that's why like a lot of concepts that I think about are similar, you know. Overcoming yourself, man. Um, you know, uh, when I think about what holds me back, right? Oh, hold on a second. I got something going on. All right, let that thing go. It was getting stuck. Is it gonna go back on that? All right. Anyway, so what holds me back? Um, Obviously, I've always mentioned that time is a big issue for me. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm having little technical issues today, but one of the biggest holdbacks for me has been time. I'm always short on time. I'm always trying to figure out how do I squeeze in things or uh, how do I make something happen, man. That's been always one of my biggest issues. You got a lot of things you want to get done, and you know, it's only so many hours in a day. I need some drink here. So, you know, that's always been my biggest struggle. Is time. It's one of my biggest holdbacks. I think it's just trying to figure out the best way to get things done in the most efficient way possible. You know, because my time is so limited all the time. So, for me, that's something that I have yet to figure out or overcome. I'm just horrible at scheduling things. I think that's mainly one of the biggest things about me is I'm not really good at managing, I guess, my time, I guess, in the most best or the best way possible, I guess. Uh, so that's something that I still have to overcome myself, you know. Um, and that can be an obstacle, I think, for a lot of folks, you know. Um, there's obstacles that we all face. Something within your control, some things that are out of your control, right? Um, we all think if you think about it, there's different versions of yourself, and that's something too that I ponder or whatever. I wonder, you know, the person you are today. There's the person you are today. There's the person we want to become, right? And then there's the gap between the two. So there's different versions of yourself, it's like when you set these goals to try and become that, it's the struggle in between is where you lie, and you're trying to figure out the best path forward and all that. So, there's different ways that we can basically hold ourselves back. We can be afraid to fail. We can have fear of success. That's another one. We can have procrastination, which, a lot of us, I think, procrastinate on things. There's also, perfectionism. People that, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. And this was something I talked about before in a previous podcast. You have to let that one go in order to even make headway. You gotta let, if you're a perfectionist and if you don't never say, hey, this is good enough, or you can't never let it go, you'll never finish it, or it'll never be where you want it, and you'll never even release it. You have to come to a point where you have to say, okay, I've done all I can do with this. Perfectionism can definitely hinder you as well. Can definitely hold you back. Comparing ourselves to others is like a huge one, right? This is something you shouldn't do. Don't compare yourself to others. When you think about your success should be against yourself. Your success should be against yourself. I said this before too, I think. A lot of times, we look at, somebody's doing a podcast, right? They have all this level of success or whatever, and I'm still stuck at square zero. Well, you can't be worried about, you worrying about what they're doing is hindering you from making the steps that you need to make to go forward with what you got going on. And that's the biggest thing, is to not be stuck on what somebody else is doing. And I said this too, it's okay to take inspiration from other folks. You don't want to copy directly. You need to take inspiration in doing stuff. And you should never really, judge your success against their success, because you're different people. So your progress is going to be different than anybody else's. And that's how you have to view things, So comparing yourself to others can really hold you back, And I think that's a lot of good points right there. Fear of failure, fear of success, procrastination, perfectionism, and basically paying too close attention to other people. Those things will hold you back. So, it's always something to think about. We want to take ownership of our stuff, our actions, what we're working on, accepting responsibility. That's a challenge for a lot of people to accept responsibility, right? That's a hard one. You got to focus on what you can control too, right? A lot of times, I have things that I want to do during the week, but because of different scheduling stuff that pops up or whatever, you can't get it done, right? You got to accept it that's, it is what it is, Small daily improvements. This is another thing, when you look at your success, or you're looking at your content, or whatever you're making or creating, or whatever you're working on in life, you got to look at the small daily improvements, and strive for that. Strive for at least 1 or 2 daily improvements. I think that's important, and you don't always got to make the biggest gains or the biggest wins or the biggest whatever. You're just, if you can have small wins, they add up over time, So just trying to get a win a day, 2 wins a day, or something like that. Whatever it is. Just steps forward. So practical steps that you can overcome yourself. I think I said this before too. Setting realistic goals. I had a few goals I want to make this year. I don't know if we're gonna meet it, but we're gonna try. We're gonna continue to try throughout the year. One was to get to 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel. One of them, because we have two, right? That was more of a long-term goal. We set it early in the year, but also I want to improve. Every day, just get a little bit better. So those are our more realistic goals. Try to improve a little bit each day. Sticking to the routine. Now that's one that I've really struggled with, sticking to a routine, right? Because like I said, time and appointments and other stuff that pops up, it's hard to stick to a routine. Definitely with day-to-day work and other stuff, sticking to a routine can be challenging. It has been for me, for sure. That's another one where I struggle. Staying consistent. I think for some things I've been very consistent. I think there are things that I wish I could be more consistent with, and I think that's also something that everybody needs to work on. Sticking to a routine and staying consistent. Small wins, we want small wins, so we need to celebrate them too. When we get a small win, we should be celebratory about it. Be happy about it. Celebrate it. Celebrate your small wins. This is another one. Learning from our setbacks. That's a challenge too. Because sometimes you'll make a mistake multiple times before you really figure it out. I definitely make multiple mistakes multiple times before I ever really figure things out. That's just my way of learning, I guess. I think everybody learns differently, so sometimes you just need a bunch of failures in one thing to kind of learn from that setback, and I definitely am one in that category. I need multiple multiple failures in order to figure something out. Yeah, I think overall, when I think about what I got going on, I'm happy with some of the stuff, and I'm just hey, I really need to improve in these other areas. So on that note, let's just take a look on how close we are in meeting our long-term goal. Because I know a lot of my short-term goals, I'm still in kind of a loop of working on it. Okay. So, I always want to see this graph, man. I go to Social Blade just to see the graphs, man. Make sure I don't have submarine effects. Monthly subscribers is, what I want to look at is future projections. That's what I like to look at. So this future projection chart always shifts for me, man. Like you see, for the gaming channel right now, it's showing us getting the 500 in December. Which, that's great, but this graph changes a lot because, our subscriber, week to week, day to day or whatever changes so frequently, But if this is true, then we may hit our goal, our long-term goal, which would be great, for our gaming channel. Now, the art channel, I think, is different. It's very low. Let me look at the art channel real quick. Yeah, so, yeah, this one goes up and down, and, future projections. This one's got me on a decline right now, I guess, which is weird. Views are projection up. This is projected down, which sucks. I don't know why the art channel goes up and down so much. It's very strange. But the views is going up, which is weird too, 60,000 by September. So I don't understand how the views go up, but the doggone subscriptions go down on that channel. It's just so weird with that channel. I don't understand it. But anyway, I'll never understand any of the metrics. Something I need to look into further, I guess. And I've been pushing more art content this year, which is crazy. We do our daily bit of gaming news video, which has been, part of our huge success with our gaming channel. And then I've been doing artwork at least twice a week, or close to twice a week for most weeks. At least once a week for sure. And that's just not enough. It's not enough. So I guess I just need to ramp it up more. Like I said, I wanted to get to doing like some stuff with my iPad. I need to, but there's no way I can really record it on the go. But that was my thought. Maybe I could record stuff on the go. I don't know. I just don't really have a good way of doing that. Sorry, y'all, need a drink. So, yeah, overall, the gaming channel's moving along. Even though I've been trying to push more art stuff this year, seems like the art channel is more on a decline, which is weird. But, I'm going to continue to push. We're going to still continue to do game streams on Friday, and what we'll do is continue working on this Gabriel painting, the where he's announcing the Mary. I forget how to say the doggone what it's called, Annunciation or whatever it is called. Yeah, we're gonna continue working on that, our version of that. Which I've just been working on sketch work for that, trying to figure out the best pose and all that stuff, and just trying to lay down a good sketch so I can put something on canvas. Which hopefully at least Wednesday, I think, or Thursday this week, I should be able to do an art video. So we'll work on that. As far as the Twitch channel, that's always up in the air too. We stream and stuff on Twitch, but our growth has been super low on Twitch. I don't really know how. Like I said, I always say this. I don't know how you grow on Twitch. It's one of the hardest platforms to grow on. YouTube seems to be more open. But Twitch is one of those platforms that I just don't understand, man. They say a lot of people are using bots, so I think that's like how they get their viewerships up, and I'm just not one to do that, so I'm not gonna do that. So it's definitely interesting. I don't even know where we're at. I can't even figure out like where it is. Where they make their dashboard UI so ridiculous, man. I don't really like it. I just want to see where our community is. Follower list. I don't want a follower list. I want the. It doesn't even show like Jesus, man. Activity. I don't know, man. Anyway, we got some followers on. Go to the channel. I guess it should show it on the channel, right? What the heck, man? This is like the worst, dude. 54 followers. Jesus, all that to try and find 54 followers. Anyway, I don't grow on Twitch. I don't even know why I still stream on there, really. Which is something I have cut out multiple times before. Maybe I cut it out again and we just go back to streaming just strictly to YouTube, man. It seems like YouTube, I have better success on growth. So maybe if I just focus on just YouTube again, I don't know. Maybe we'll ask ChatGPT about that, thoughts on that, because streaming on Twitch just is not working out. And it might just be better. It might honestly just be better if we just do all the streaming on YouTube, man. Because I feel like, at least on YouTube, I have some level of growth, man. Ultimately, I have some level of growth. So, Twitch is one of those platforms that, like, I just don't understand it. I'll give it to the end of the year. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I like Twitch because, like, it has better integration and audience retention tools and stuff. It has better stuff like that. YouTube is so far behind. I think all the other streaming platforms have always been behind on like the support. I guess the stuff for like your followers. Like they got the Twitch drops. They got all kinds of cool stuff that helps, I guess, with I guess retaining your audience, I guess. I don't know. Better stuff like that. I don't know. Even like the emotes and all that stuff is all better on that platform, but it's one of the hardest platforms to definitely grow on for sure. So just thinking forward, I don't know. Well, maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe I need to go back to multi-streaming. I usually have issues with multi-streaming. That's the problem. The multi-streaming usually doesn't work well. That's the problem. I could always try it again, though. I don't know why I have it on this mode. Let's go to this. Yeah. I could always try it again. It's an option, man. I don't know. Try multi-streaming again. I don't know. Just trying to think of other ways to do things. As I thought the podcast being on the art channel would also like give me more content, which is it does. Gives me another video. But maybe this could be other live stream on there. I don't know. I'm trying to think things out as we're doing this podcast. But yeah, overcoming these issues, man. Overcoming yourself. Let's get back to topic, I guess. So it's a lot to think about, I think. And I like to think about these things, because, this is where I can take some mental time to look forward at what I want to, like I said, what I want to become or what I want to do with all this, and try to figure out this in between. How do I get there? You got to constantly be thinking about this stuff or trying to improve, or otherwise you'll be stuck spinning your wheels if you're not trying to figure it out. You'll be doing the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. And so I think that's where we're at. We need to look at what's going to make us better. At the end of the day, what's going to make you better. And don't worry about what other people are doing. Just look at yourself. What, from your experience and your content or whatever it is you're working on, your knowledge, or just look back at what you've done and say, okay, how do I progress from here? I think that's what it is. So, yeah. And growth, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? Because it's hard to progress, to make progress. Sometimes it's hard to see what you're doing wrong. And I think that's what a lot of us struggle at. It's hard to see where we're at. Where are we making mistakes? I think that's also why I do the podcast, right? So I can kind of like think about it, because when we're talking about this stuff, if I have notes about what I want to talk about and I think about it, I can literally take this time to say, okay, this is where I know I'm messing up. Maybe there's other spots that I just don't know. And maybe I just need to look deeper. Maybe I need to dig deeper. Excuse me. Maybe I need to dig deeper. And, that's kind of where I think everybody should be at, in that state of like, hey, where am I at? Where am I at? So one of the big takeaways, I think, is the goal isn't to defeat others. It's to better yourself, defeat yourself. You're fighting against yourself. Don't worry about where everybody else is at in life. It's about where you at and how you progress to get where you want to get to. The goal is to become better version of yourself. That's the end goal, right? Be better than you were yesterday. That's my goal every day. Try to be a little better than I was yesterday. Do I always win? No, I do not. But I still keep thinking about it. I still keep working on it. And that's what I think the mental state is, to be like, hey, all right, today I messed up or whatever. I got to, tomorrow I got to do better. Try to do better. Yeah, you got to have that kind of mental attitude in order to progress, right? So, and stuff like this is good to talk about. I call these sessions thinking out loud. They're thinking out loud. Our podcast is thinking out loud. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's rambling, because I ramble a lot. Sometimes I'll go off topic. We're at 30 minutes, and that's about the length of the podcast I usually do. That's the other thing. I don't do very long podcasts because I run out of time. It's almost 3 o'clock. I have to upload the video to YouTube and to Spotify so that the podcast can be on all the platforms. Just so everybody know, the podcast is on Spotify, and it's RSS feed to Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music or whatever podcast. And then the video version will go up on our YouTube channel, Art with Errol, and we have the Art with Errol gaming channel for our gaming stuff. I think we beat Mouse PI for Hire. That was something that was a good accomplishment from last week. I didn't go over last week's stuff, but we did beat Mouse PI for Hire. This week we'll be playing 007 First Light, because I only played through the intro, and we want to make some progress on that game. I need to knock some games out. So hopefully you can get caught up on some games, because there's a ton of games coming out from all these game shows. September is going to be redonkulous. it's going to be crazy. The end of this year is going to be crazy with games. There's too much to play and not enough time to play them. That's where I'm at. Which I love playing video games, but time is very limited. And that's always going to be a struggle for me. And you got a family and you got work. Squeezing all this stuff in is always a challenge. Squeezing this podcast in, because once I'm done with this, we got to get it uploaded, and then it's off to the races. Get the children and do this after school stuff. Well, it's no school, but still, they're at summer camp. Pick them up from summer camp, take them to their other activities. Life stays busy. It's hard to keep up sometimes. Life stays busy, y'all. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about too may not apply to you if you're single or whatever. You're not a dad or a mom or you don't have a job. You're maybe a teenager or something, or if you're listening to this podcast and you're just kind of curious, your responsibilities grow as you get older, especially when you have family and stuff. So the ability to be successful at a social media level is a lot more challenging for someone with a family. There are people that do it. Not to say it can't be done. I'm just saying that it's more challenging. Just know that. So if you can lay down the groundwork while you are single, if you are, and if you can, make your achievements early, then you'll probably be a lot easier on you going forward. As far for me, it's more of a struggle because I always put family first. So family first. This podcast, the artwork, the gaming, that's all secondary. So it's easier for me to cancel that stuff. Family comes first. Then this extra stuff is just stuff that I have to cancel. I cancel it. If that's what it is. It is what it is. That's what I mean. It is what it is. But I think there's a path for success even for us. It's just it's a lot more challenging, and figuring out the best way to optimize the time that I have is something that I've always kind of struggled with. If I can optimize my time and make content, I don't do stuff on the weekends because it's family time. So I try to not do stuff on the weekends. So I'm not streaming on the weekends. I even stopped making the bit of gaming news on the weekends. So I'm only doing it Monday through Friday. Is what I've been trying to stick to. Occasionally I may make a video if it's something that's just really crazy that pops up, but I'll try to do it early in the morning when everybody's asleep. If not, I just don't do it. So, here I am rambling again at the end of the podcast. Anyway, I need to get off of here. It's almost 3. Just remember, you can follow us on Spotify, on Twitch. You can follow us on the Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, wherever you're listening to this, or on YouTube, Art with Errol. The podcast is on my website too, artwitherrol.com. So plenty of places to find me. Every Monday we do our little check-in. Typically I like to talk about the way forward, things that happened last week, try to see what progress we're making. And yeah, we go from there, so I think it's a great topic though, overcoming yourself, man, so till next time, You know what to do. I'm out of here, y'all.